From the WNIN Tri-State Public Media Center in downtown Evansville, I'm David James, and this is 2 Main Street. Well, from the hot lights of a TV studio to the cold ice of a hockey ring. My guest is a familiar face to Tri-Staters, now sharing his talents with the Evansville Thunderbolts. Dan Katz retired after a long career at WFIE-TV, waking us up on 14 News Sunrise for more than 25 years. He's now got a new gig, enjoying this well-deserved break from the daily grind of waking up and going to work hours before the first rooster crows. Dan Katz, welcome again to 2 Main Street. You were a guest when 14 News Sunrise celebrated its 25th anniversary. That was a couple of years ago.
That's right. Absolutely. It was great. Can't even remember the year now. It's been about 3 years ago or so. Yes. But it is nice to be here. You know, I feel so much more refreshed. I can't understand why. I'm getting more sleep these days, but it's been great.
You look good.
Thank you.
Post the grind.
Smoke and mirrors, but thanks.
Now, okay, let's get right into this. Right. Tell us about your new role with the Evansville Thunderbolts.
Well, first of all, it has nothing to do with why I retired. It came up right when I was getting ready to retire, and Derek Bratton, who works in production over there, runs the show at the Ford Center. You know, he messaged me and said, Dan, hey, we have an MC opening for the Thunderbolts. You go around and you just have fun with the crowd and do all kinds of games. And he said, would you be interested? I said, well, let me think about it. So I went over there and talked to the folks, and I was impressed with all the people there, and it seemed like a lot of fun, and it was not every day and not a ton of hours. And I thought, you know, this would be fun. So I just said, yeah, why not?
So exactly what do you do during the game?
Well, Bridget McDonald, who's the kind of the marketing director, she has a program of all the things we do for the entire game, which, you know, it starts, 6 o'clock, crowd comes in, and then the clock is running, and we have, meeting the fans and getting fans to, it's called moving on up, some fans up to these great seats in the front row. And then we have what's in the box, where you take a box around and they put their hand in there and figure out what food it is. Sometimes it's kind of gross, but fun games like that.
That sounds like a Jeff Lyons bit
it kind of
from the Fall Festival.
Mystery
food.
Pretty much. It is a mystery food in the box. And fans love it, and there's some really diehard fans. The season ticket holders I'm getting to know very well. They're really into it, and it's just fun. I don't even know how else to describe it, but it's just a blast.
So, were you a big hockey fan growing up in the Chicago area?
Not necessarily.
The Blackhawks?
No, not necessarily. I've been to a couple of games. I know the game. I watch it on occasion. I know how it works, and I wasn't too familiar with the Thunderbolts. Of course, they transitioned from the Icemen and then into the Thunderbolts, and didn't even have a season last year because of the pandemic. So, I'm getting to know the players, and there's actually a pretty good team. But I know enough to either fake it till I make it at the Ford Center, I guess you might say.
And you have all these teams coming in from like Birmingham?
Yeah, Birmingham, Quad Cities, Knoxville. It's kind of going back to my sports roots a little bit,
That's right. At Channel 14,
right.
You did weekend sports
That's right.
there forever. Friday night football,
yeah.
Remember that?
Yes.
Covering all those games.
Yeah, that was a grind, because I started doing that when I was still doing the Sunrise show, so that turned into a pretty long day. But that was fun. We had a good time, and so I think I know enough to get by, and I'm still learning, but I'm just enjoying it. I really am.
Do you ever get out on the ice?
I do get out on the ice, not with the skates. We do during the intermissions. We have games out there where I think we played musical chairs the other night. We had sumo wrestling, which is fun. I get to narrate that. We have chuck-a-puck, where people buy pucks and they try to throw them on the ice and win prizes, and when they hit these sponsor banners. And, people really get into it and get involved. And I'm getting to, just have a lot of fun and showcase my personality a little bit and kind of keep things moving. And so far, the response has been good. But the number one question I get, David, I got to tell you is, so how's retirement going? Everybody asks me.
Oh, I know.
Or, they say, what's really nice is they say, I miss you on TV, Dan. And I'm like, oh, okay, well, that's really nice of you. I mean, so it's very humbling, and I'm just blown away by the kind of the affection from people that they do miss me. But I'm really having a good time doing this.
Well, kind of the best of both worlds there. Yeah. You're away from that daily grind.
Yeah.
but you're still among the public,
Yeah.
and they get a chance to see you and interact with you. So that has to be very rewarding, I'm sure.
Yeah, I think that's kind of one of the reasons that they kind of got a hold of me to do this, because they knew that I was known in the community and that maybe I would generate some interest in bringing people into the arena. I don't know how much I've done on that aspect. We had a free ticket, free admission night the other night. We had a good crowd, of, over 3,000. We'd of course like to have more, but generally our crowds are a little bit, over 1,000. We want to pick up the attendance, and maybe as we move more into the winter and the team does well, hopefully the crowds will build a little bit. That's certainly the intention. But I'm trying to make it interesting, post on social media, get people fired up to come to the arena. It's a good night of family fun. That's basically what it is, and if it's something different. Yeah.
Now, recently retired from TV news. Right. We talked about that. Your many years on 14 News Sunrise, 25 years,
38 at the station,
Yeah.
27 and a half on Sunrise.
Wow.
So yeah.
Now, what were those final days like leading up to your last day on the air?
Surreal, I guess. I really was looking forward to not having to get up in the morning, because I was waking up at 12:30 in the morning and getting in at 2, and sometimes working until noon. And it's like, I'm getting up there. That's a little too taxing on the body, and it was just getting stressful. Now, I love the people I work with. That sounds almost corny, but I mean, I work with some great people. We have the people on the air there now are great. The production crew is fantastic. I mean, that's the thing I miss the most. I do not miss the daily grind of the news, which now that when I watch seems like, oh yeah, that's another one of those, another. It's like I know you probably have those kinds of thoughts because you were in it for a long time, but I feel like it's good to be away from that. I don't know how else to explain it, David.
Well,
really
you
don't.
did your best to try to lighten the mood on the morning show, and I know when it was appropriate. I mean, obviously there's some serious stories you don't do any shtick during those.
No, of course not.
But when you have an opportunity when not much is going on to lighten things up, you and Byron get into it.
Yeah, that's what I really love the most, and that's the response I got from the public the most. Byron and I, they didn't really complimented us on, well, we had 3, car wrecks in a row, and you did a good job reading those. No, they don't. I mean, the boss would say, hey, nice, but that's the whole another thing. But the public would go, I love how you and Byron
the meteorologist.
Right, yeah, the meteorologist we worked with over 25 years together. How you'd cut up and have fun and talk sports and just, give each other a hard time. And and then we did, like you say, there's so few light times and moments that you can find in a newscast with all the horrible things going on in the world, that you just tried to find any moment that you could just have fun and just lighten things up and just send people out the door with at least a positive, attitude or a smile or something.
Well, when all my years at Channel 14, I would always look for a kicker. A story that would just kind of lighten the mood at the end of a terrible newscast with all this death and destruction, fires, and all the other scandals and all that stuff.
Yeah.
Just find a water skiing squirrel, anything.
Anything. Yes, I agree.
Just wanted to do something to smile at the end of the show.
Yeah, it's important. I mean,
it is.
because you can, watching a newscast these days, you can get pretty depressed. I mean, it's like, gosh, what's going on in the world? But you do need to find those things, and you find the people that are doing good things and doing things for their community and just helping and giving back, and those are the kind of stories. I wish we did more of those. I'm saying like I'm still doing it, but
yes.
You know what I mean? I think it's important to show people that are helping their fellow man or their community or their neighbor, and we need to do more of those, because otherwise you just like, I don't want to sound like I'm just in a major depression or something, but you know what I'm talking about.
It weighs on you
does.
After a while. Now, big send-off at the station. I know your wife, Beth, and your sons, Noah and Jonah, were there for the send-off. That had to be cool.
I'll tell you, I've never been so emotional in my life, because my boys came in. One lives in Florida, and one lives in L.A. They came all the way in, helped set this whole thing up, did interviews, and just said the most kind, unbelievable things, and made me feel so proud. I mean, I get emotional thinking about it now, how Noah, I think, said, Dad, you did it for a long time. Yeah, I can't even remember when you started because I was young. And what I appreciate the most is your fairness and the way you help the community. I mean, when you hear that from your son, and Jonah the same way, just was very appreciative. And my wife was great. She, now you have time to just kind of hang out and lay by the pool in the summertime. And everybody's been so supportive because, my schedule was so weird for all those years that sometimes they just didn't see me, but and Byron and Shaylee and everybody said the most unbelievably kind, humbling things, and I had no idea. And I told people this: you don't realize the impact you have on people until you tell them you're not going to be there anymore. I mean, the audience, my coworkers, and I've never cried and been so emotional so much in that last couple of weeks. And even when I think back on it, it's pretty emotional. But everybody's been great, and I feel so blessed and just so humbled that I was able to do it for so long, and people seem to really enjoy it and me.
Now, Beth, your wife, she's also retired now, retired educator.
Right, was a teacher in public school system at the EVSC. She worked Rights for a few years in Central. She just retired from in May, but she's also doing some substitute teaching.
Oh, they need substitute teachers.
They do. I wish they'd pay them a little bit more, but that's something they need to work on because it's important. Getting quality teachers. It's tough. I know that the EVSC has implemented kind of a pay raise, which is good, I think. Also, she's going to be teaching in the spring at USI, doing speech for a couple nights a week, I think. So that's in her blood. That's something she can do with her eyes closed. And to this day, I hear when I see people out, your wife taught me speech. I mean, she's taught at 3 different places. She taught at high school, for one thing, and also at USI, at Henderson Community College, and Ivy Tech. So she has taught a lot of people how to do public speaking.
Well, she was former broadcast.
That's right. She actually worked in this building here for a while. When it was a different station. And
Channel 44.
That's right. And so at Channel 7, we actually co-anchored a couple of weekends together. And we actually we're still married.
I didn't know you guys co-anchored.
Well, it was just, I think she was filling in or I was filling, I can't remember. It was 100 years ago, David. That was a long time ago. But yeah, so that's where we met at the radio TV department at Southern Illinois University in Carbondale back in 1980. So we're talking, 41 years ago? Is that right? So, yeah, we do have that history.
And she's still on the running circuit, I understand.
Yes, that is her passion. She is so gung-ho to run. She just ran the Wendell Foster half marathon last Saturday in Owensboro and finished second in her age group. I'm not going to tell anybody what her age group was, but second in her age group, and she just really loves it. And she basically runs almost every day, at least with a few miles to keep up. And so I think it was her 14th or 15th half marathon.
Well, good for her.
So
good for her.
She's loved that. So
now we talked about where you and Beth met
right.
in Carbondale
right.
at SIU.
That's right.
You were both students there?
Yeah, we were students in the radio TV department. It was a public station, TV, radio, similar to, I guess, this, although this isn't related to the university. But and they did live newscasts every night and live, did the public radio, and I did some DJing, I guess, in the radio station there. So that's kind of where I got my start. It was back in 77, I guess. I started a little late after high school, but that's where I kind of learned the ropes, so to speak. And
now, you grew up in the Chicago area?
Well, no, Champaign-Urbana.
Oh, Champaign. Okay.
My mother was a professor at the University of Illinois in early childhood education. She's still hanging in there. She has dementia, but she's in a memory unit in Urbana, Illinois right now. And we're from San Francisco. That's where I was born, and the family moved.
Now, where's Beth Ann from?
She was born in Milwaukee, and she was raised in Rockford, Illinois.
Okay.
So, yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Now, your family, when I had you on the show when celebrating the 25th anniversary of 14 New Sunrise, we talked about your parents, and I said, oh, this is like a novel. This is really a novel because your father was born in Moscow.
That's right.
During the Stalin years.
Yes.
And your mother born in London.
That's right.
And she was in London during the Blitz
Yes.
in World War II.
Mm-hmm.
And how these two met is quite a saga. Do you want to give us
Okay,
the short version
I'm
of that?
a little rusty on all the details, but okay. My dad was born in Moscow in 1923. He was an only child, and then when he was 7, they had to escape Stalin. They took a train through Siberia and ended up in China. And my dad went to Jewish school in Shanghai, China. I guess from the history of my grandfather on my dad's side, he had a family that was wiped out in the pogrom. Mm-hmm. So this is his second family, and he had children and a wife, and now he remarried, and my dad was the child, and so he grew up in Shanghai, and then when he was 17, he applied to either go to Israel or University of California, and he ended up going to California. He got accepted into the civil engineering program at UC Berkeley and got his degree in civil engineering in California. My mother was, she was young in the war, World War II. They escaped out in the countryside with her twin sister, Anita.
Yeah, they put all those children on trains and took them out into the countryside because London was being bombed.
So while she's out in the countryside, her mother and father are, amidst the bombing in London, but survived. When the war was over, they wanted to move to the United States, so they ended up in Los Angeles area. And I guess my mother went on a trip when she was young, 20 or so, and met my father at a dance at a synagogue or something in San Francisco back in 1950. Yeah, 1950, and then they got married very shortly after that, and the rest is history, as they say. So, but my dad was 9 years older than my mom, and my dad was the best. He died in 2005. But so they have an amazing history. My dad ended up being a structural engineer, and then my mother got her PhD at Stanford in early childhood, and she's a world-renowned professor. I know this isn't a very short story here, David. I apologize.
I like it.
But she's spoken in 46 countries, all 50 states. Has written numerous books on early childhood. Of course, she's my mom. But she is beloved by thousands of people around the world. I hear this all the time. And now she's kind of on the decline, unfortunately. Mm-hmm. She has dementia, but she's hanging in there and doing well. But she had just a remarkable career. She went to the White House a few times, was on the Today Show and the Good Morning America. I mean, she was one of the big honchos in her field. I'm
she's
one
of your heroes, obviously.
Oh yeah, so
definitely.
What a remarkable woman.
What a life, definitely. Yeah. Now, did you always want to be a broadcaster?
Not really. I always thought, first of all, I wanted to be a baseball player. But you know how that is. Wasn't good enough. But I always loved sports, and I remember when I was in like 5th grade in California, and we toured a radio station in San Francisco, KSFO. They broadcast the Giants games. I was a big Giants fan, and I remember telling my classmates, look at this. This is when they do this, and then this is the two guys that do the games, and I was like leading this, and that I don't know if that subliminally got me interested, but I always had that because I was just floundering around. I didn't know. I wasn't really a super good student. I was terrible at math and science and those.
And you had these brilliant parents.
Well, I think it skipped a generation because my kids are pretty brilliant. But but I figured. I guess I started working in a little underground radio station in a dorm at the University of Illinois, and I kind of got it. And then I went to community college and got in the radio TV program. Went to SIU, and the rest was history. And I just wasn't that smart, but I think I could use my, whatever talent or personality. I think I used my personality to get where I was, not necessarily my brain power. I don't know if that makes sense, but that's kind of how it worked. But this is something
you love to do.
Yeah.
It wasn't work.
Yeah, it wasn't work. And that's the key. Mm-hmm. When you want to do something in life, you want to do something that is not work.
Sure.
And people, I feel blessed that I was able to do that because not everybody is blessed to do that.
I know it.
And granted, it's not like it's not work. I mean, you have
Oh, sure.
qualification, you have
Deadlines.
and pressures and requirements and all that. But if you can kind of compartmentalize all that and deal with the stress and the deadlines, which it's a big part of it.
Well, and I
then
think
you
the
can do
secret to it, just be yourself.
Right.
Try not to be somebody else. Sometimes consultants try to make you into something else, and that never works. It never works. People can spot a phony.
I know.
They
exactly. And I've worked with, I'm not going to mention any names. I've worked with plenty of phonies in my day. And now they're probably in PR out of the business. I mean, first of all, you have to be flexible. You can't be a perfectionist because the deadline's the show's going to start whether you're ready or not. So you better.
And it's live, and things are going to happen.
So just go with the flow and just be yourself, and just if something doesn't work out, just
and I think people are on your side too, and they know things go wrong.
Absolutely.
And if you just kind of go with the flow and kind of enjoy the moment, that didn't work. Let's move on.
Yeah. So they want to see somebody who's real.
Sure.
Who's real, and even as flawed, they'll accept you. They really will.
They will. Now, any broadcasting heroes, any play-by-play favorites that you listen to and maybe emulate?
Nobody is going to remember this guy, but I mean, he was a Giants radio guy. His name was Russ Hodges. He was the greatest play-by-play guy, actually. In the Bobby Thompson home run in 1951, he was the guy that called.
Okay.
Me. So I'm dating myself,
sure, but
nobody knows
people
who
realize that home run.
Yes,
and the call.
Right. I mean, I appreciate good broadcasters. I don't have any particular, all-time favorites. I mean, Harry Carey wasn't really a broadcaster. He was kind of a showman.
Sure.
But, he loved the game and people loved him. People are going to either love or hate no matter what. But, I appreciate guys that are there and consistent and do their homework and love the game and are passionate about it, enthusiastic about it. So, I do appreciate really good broadcasters. And there's a whole bunch of them. I mean, there's some really talented people.
Oh, sure. Now, your love for baseball. And then the movie A League of Their Own came to Evansville. Yeah. That had to be a thrill.
It was. I mean, you think about, some of these big Hollywood stars here, Tom Hanks, Madonna,
Rosie
Davis, Rosie O'Donnell. I mean, when that happened, it was great for the city. It really was, and Bosse Field was the perfect venue for that. And I loved covering it. And of course, I was an extra, and I even showed up in a couple of scenes, most of them on the cutting room floor, but you can see me behind Tom Hanks in one of the little things in front of the dugout. I mean, nobody would notice. I mean, of course I did because it was me and I was in the movie. But it was fun. It was just a blast. It was really cool, really. And the movie turned out. I thought the movie was really, really good. I mean,
it's a classic.
One of the better baseball movies there is.
Sure.
Really, it's up there.
There was a recent article about Tom Hanks recalling his time in Evansville. He really enjoyed. He got a chance to shag, fly balls and everything, and has his family here.
He said it was the best movie experience he ever had. Because, like you say, he had his family here. He went to Burger King and Dairy Queen, and hung out and lived in the middle of a cornfield. He said, and just all summer long, he just played baseball. I mean, and I think one of his better movies. I think, and so that's a compliment to the area that Tom Hanks. One of his better movie experiences was right here in this town.
We talked about how you got this gig. It was kind of out of the blue, and you jumped on it after you got a chance to go to the arena and meet the folks.
Yeah, I did. It had all the kind of the things that you'd want if you were doing something, just want to do something fun in your retirement that didn't require a lot of time. Sure. And so I thought it would be fun. And plus, I'm working with people that I know, that I have worked with over at Channel 14 that are in production over at the Ford Center. They're a great crew, and it's a state-of-the-art arena. It really is. And also the management team there, the marketing people, the sales people, the team officials are all great. I sound like I'm doing a little PR spiel here, but I was impressed. That impressed me right from the start. They didn't even want me to audition. They said, Dan, if you want this, you can have it. I guess they were going on all the goofy stuff I did in my career or whatever. But I guess, I was flattered by that. I met with them. They were great. And so I'm trying to be as, enthusiastic about it as I can. The crowd is, gets me fired up, and, it's just a lot of fun.
Now, you brought some items here, some Thunderbolt items, and I know we'll have to explain it to our radio audience. But it's got the great logo on there.
That's right.
Thunderbolts.
It is a nice logo.
Of course,
I must tell you,
the
it's really,
P-47
that's
Thunderbolt, made in Evansville during World War II, is the
yes.
part of the logo.
Thus, the cheerleading squad called the Aviators, which
Yes.
makes sense. And we've got all kinds of things. We got a tie, and we got license plate, hats, and pennants, and banners, and all kinds of good stuff that you can. When you go to the game, you can buy this up at the merchandise stand. I mean, and there's all kinds of shirts and wearable items, hoodies. I think they're going to be selling, and T-shirts and things like that.
Well, tell me about the fan base.
Okay, well, the fan base, they have season ticket holders, which they had a special night for meet and greet for the season ticket holders, and I got to meet a lot of them, and to say that they're enthusiastic is an understatement. They're great people. I mean, they all seem to have really crazy personalities. They love being at the games. They bring their families. They wear all the garb. They cheer them on, and it's a family atmosphere. They really get into it, and I've really enjoyed meeting them. I haven't met all of them, obviously, but the ones I met are very kind to me, and they are always complimentary and say, Dan, we're glad you took this gig, and I hope you're enjoying it. And the fans, though, they're really into it, and it's amazing. They really, I mean, they cheer, and when they kind of have little fisticuffs there on the ice, man, that crowd gets so revved up, man. I mean, I don't want people to fight all the time, but I mean, that's part of hockey, and when they do, it's controlled, and people get into it. They're banging on the glass. It's quite an atmosphere, really is.
Well, win or lose, it's entertainment.
Right.
I mean, everybody's into it, I guess, the whole time, and you keep it going.
Well, yeah, I try, and I don't hog the mic. I have special times when I'm supposed to talk and read little announcements and promote the next game, and things you can do and things you can buy and clubs you can join, and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And now that I've done a few games, I've kind of gotten it down to a science where I can just kind of go off the cuff a little bit, have a little fun, especially with the games we have on the ice, and just kind of cut up with the fans and have just a lot of fun with them.
Do you sense sometimes when you need to jump in there?
Yeah, I do. I can't just open the mic and start talking because we've got Tommy Mason, who is the announcer, and we've got video announcements playing, and I can't just go rogue, although sometimes I really want to. So I try to stay under control, but when I have an opportunity to have fun or yuck it up with people, when we do finish the lyric, it's when you find a fan, they play a song and then they have to finish the lyric. I can make fun of them, or I can have some fun with them and stuff like that. And yeah, I mean, I'm finding my opportunity. I just don't want to kind of hog the mic. I'm still kind of a newbie out there.
Well, tell me about some of the interactions with the fans. Any surprises? Any?
I mean, the other night we had musical chairs, which was they do it on floaties. You can't put chairs on the ice; you put holes in them. So they have these plastic floaties that you put in the pool. And there's a family of four and another kid out there, and they have to play music, and they go around and they sit down, and the chairs slip on the ice, and they fall down, and they get covered with ice, and everybody laughs. I mean, it's just fun. I mean, it's very unpredictable. So I'm the play-by-play guy for that. So I'll say something like, "Oh, well," because I think the two kids ended up in the final chair, and so that looks like it's a tie. We're gonna have to talk to the rules committee or something. But they, we just go with it and have fun. And people
now, is this during halftime?
This is during. Well, there's no real halftime. It's you have three periods and you have two intermissions. So you have the first intermission and the second intermission. Okay. And so it's usually you play a game during the first intermission is when we had the musical chairs, and then we chuck a puck during the second intermission, and that's kind of a standard thing where people can win some pretty cool prizes. And sometimes they help nonprofits too because they get involved with that. But yeah, so it's usually during those two intermissions where I get to get out there and showcase my personality or whatever, and just have a little fun with the fans.
Now, at these games, you get to watch the action.
Oh, yeah.
And the speed of these players
and
the skill of these players. It has to be amazing.
Yeah,
to watch them work.
This is the Southern Professional Hockey League, so it's one of the lower leagues, but it doesn't, there's some very talented players out there. I mean, it's not the NHL, but these players, they're good. They skate quickly, and the team is very competitive, and they play good defense, and the goalie is good, and they fly and they bang up against those boards. And I swear to. They have banged up against it and scared the jeebies out of me a time or two, but that's what the fans love. They love it.
And these players come from all over.
Yeah, most of them that I've seen are from Canada, Saskatchewan, Ontario, places like that. Because they park in that back lot there at the Ford Center, and I can see their license plates. They're all Canadian. So yeah, a lot of them, of course, that's where the sport basically. It's the hotbed of hockey, and they have that Canadian accents. It's kind of cool to hear. But there's some that are just from the United States as well, of course. And it just seems like a really a team that's bonded, and they play together very well. And hopefully they continue, because I think if we can build on the team success, we will help build the crowd. And that's obviously we want bigger, more the merrier in the Ford Center.
Now, so these players. They eventually probably want to get to the National Hockey League. I mean, this is the pipeline.
It is
to the big time.
It's like the minors, and it's hard to tell who would move up, but it's where the big boys, look for new talent, and some of these guys. I mean, I don't know much about how the scout talent, but there's some pretty good.
Are there scouts?
I haven't seen any. Nobody's introduced me to any. I suppose there could be. I'm sure teams are always looking for new talent, but I suppose it's possible.
Now, having this pro team in this area has to be great for all the youth leagues around here. Do you have a lot of young hockey players watching the
There are
games?
some younger fans there. I know that before they played in the Ford Center, they were Swander, the leagues and stuff. So that's where some of the young hockey talent plays now, and I've seen a bunch of younger kids out there, and a few have said, Dan, I want to play hockey. And so, yeah, you see that. And, actually after the game the other night, we had a skate where the fans could skate on the ice with the team for like 30 minutes. And there were some younger kids out there, and they loved that because the players were all out there.
Sure.
And they were really getting into that. That's a good way to kind of help build, the community team relationship thing, and hopefully bring more people back out to the games.
You ever lace up any skates and get out there?
A long time ago, not yet here. But I suppose I should, just to give it a shot.
I think you should take some shots on goal.
Yeah, I don't know. I think I'd probably end up on my rear end doing most.
But that'd be some good shtick, though.
That would be some shtick.
Yeah, fans would like that. See you fall on the ice.
They'd love to see me fall right on my rear end. I'm sure, no doubt about it.
So now, okay, you're kind of the game show host at the hockey
pretty much
hockey arena, basically, kind of keeping the action going. Any other things on your bucket list? Any other plans or projects in the works?
Well, I would love to start traveling, and my wife and I, of course, as mentioned, I have one kid lives in South Florida, the other one lives in LA, so they're good visiting spots.
So what are they doing?
Well, Noah works for Infinity Comcast. He's a manager, and he runs basically the district or the region there in South Florida. And yeah, he's management now and doing really well. I mean, he never even calls home for money anymore. Not that as retirees we don't have much to give him, but anyway. And Jonah he's actually got a new gig with another company that does marketing with apps and stuff. I don't even know what it is, but all I know is he's got a new gig out there, and they're both doing really well. We're really proud of them.
Did they go to Castle?
They went to Castle. That's right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Were they like in sports?
They
music?
They were in music. Jonah, they were in the show choir. Jonah was in marching band, and
so you were a band dad.
Yeah, I was a band dad, and Beth was a band mom, and
that's
a
a lot of work.
That is, but that was great. I mean, it's almost 10 years ago now. I can't even believe it. But yeah, they did that, and and then of course Noah was in singing Hoosiers when he went to IU, and Jonah was in in that kind of stuff when he was at Ball State. So they went to two different schools.
So where would you like to travel?
You know, my wife and I are talking about going to visit every Major League Baseball parks one summer or something. But I'm like, honey, you know, we gotta figure that one out.
What would be the first one you'd visit?
Probably Wrigley Field.
Okay.
I mean, you know.
Were you a legendary Cubs fan? I mean, we've followed your ups and downs with the Cubs, mostly downs with
yes.
the Cubs
Oh,
on 14 News Sunrise. I know Byron give you all kinds of grief with the Cubs and everything, but you got some revenge.
Yes, he is actually happy back in 2016 when the Cubs finally won after 108 years, I guess. Yeah. And, you know, of course, it was a night where I had to stay up till 1 a.m, had to work the next day and got no sleep, you know, story of my life, but it was worth it.
Oh, I bet it was worth
it.
it.
So they finally did it. And I don't know if that's going to happen again in my lifetime, but, you know, at least it happened once. And yeah, I mean, you know, all Cub fans were just so happy about it. I mean, you know, 108 years. I mean, my God. Some people never even saw him win a championship in their lives. So, yeah, that was big. I don't know. I just became a diehard Cub fan.
Well, you know, the Cubs fans, like you said, they had to endure all kinds of grief and curses at the field.
Yeah, curses. I'm not a big curse believer kind of guy, although you could, you know, the Black Cat and the Billy Goat and the Bartman. I mean, you could probably run down the list, but I'm not a curse kind of guy.
Yeah.
I'm just like bad luck. I mean, so, but yeah, I guess if you want to use curse, it'd probably apply. But finally they got it together and won, but who knows when it'll happen again. At least it happened once.
And Dan, of course, you're bringing all that morning news energy now to the ice.
Yeah, I am trying anyway. I have a lot more energy. You know, it's amazing what's 8 hours of sleep will do, David, and not getting up at midnight every day. But yeah, I do feel more energized. But yeah, I'm trying to fire up that crowd.
And you feed off the energy of the crowd too.
Oh yeah, for sure.
When they're going wild,
yeah.
Man, you're going wild too.
Yeah, they do go wild, and it's amazing. We have not the largest crowds that we'd love to have larger crowds, but despite maybe a little over 1,000 per game, they can get kind of loud. So we'd love to have 5,000 there. We're working on it, but time will tell.
Now, when you announced your retirement, you mentioned you were leaving your TV family. And that definitely is a family. Of course, the Sunrise people are definitely a unique group of people there because when I would go to work at Channel 14, of course, I'd go in the afternoon. Right. You guys were long gone, so I'd never see the Sunrise folks. But so that was an interesting group of people.
I always said that, it's a family, and you really, that bond that you have with those coworkers, as corny as it sounds, it does set the tone for the show. And if you're all on the same page and you're all working with the same goals in mind, you have each other's backs, the show's going to be better. And I've always tried to be that, not, I guess, the cheerleader, but just trying to be the positive force. Because people come in, they have their own problems. Everybody has, things going on in their lives, their family, or whatever. They're down, or they're just not feeling. And I really just try to hey, come on, we can do this, and and hopefully, I help people get through it, and I tried to be, the leader, even though I had smarter people than me working around me, and I couldn't have done it without them. The producers I've worked with, the co-anchors I've worked with, I could not have done it without them. I just tried to be a positive force along the way.
Kirk Duncan.
Yeah.
One of your, he was there for the beginning of it.
Yeah, he was there pretty much since the beginning. We've worked, I worked almost my entire career with Kirk, and I miss him. He's really good at what he does. We're old school. He's still there, and he does a great job. And he was there obviously when you were there. He's a big sports fan, and he was one of the good ones. I mean, he still does a great job. I see him posting on social media all the time. He takes great pictures.
Well, he's a big Kentucky Wesleyan Panther fan, also hydroplane.
Yes, he still goes on the circuit with
fills you in on the hydroplane.
He does. He loves it. It's too bad that we don't have that Thunder on the Ohio thing anymore. I guess the sport's kind of evolved into something a little different now. But that was always great, and he used to love doing that. And they still when they have different events and places he goes, and he works on one of the teams. I'm not exactly sure which one, but yeah, he's got that in his blood big time.
Yes, and of course Byron Douglas. You worked with Byron forever.
Yeah, Byron, he's a piece of work. He's we love sports. We kind of, when we first started, it was kind of like oil and water a little bit, but I always personally thought he's a great forecaster. He knows his weather. He's one of the I hate to even say this. He's one of the smartest guys I know. He knows something about almost everything. He's got so much stuff in his head. He knows every county in the country. He knows every state capital. He knows the latitude and longitude of cities you wouldn't even believe. He really just loves geography.
Yeah.
And I guess when you're a meteorologist, that's kind of part of it,
Sure.
I guess. And he's traveled all 50 states with his son Evan. I know he just got wrapped up with that. So he loves to travel, and we got along. I appreciated him more than you. We were in the trenches for over 25 years together, and I have a great appreciation for what he does, and I think he had the same feeling about what I did.
And some of the big stories you covered, you were at the Olympic Games in Atlanta.
1996, the Centennial Olympic Games. Station sent me down there. I think I was down there for over 3 weeks, and it was great. We didn't get to go to any of the actual events, but we covered. We were in the park, and we had a big media center, which was just as computers were starting out. So it was kind of like we're on the verge of that. But the thing that was, which kind of ruined it, but it's part of what happens, is the Centennial Park bombing.
Sure.
I was outside the park. I heard the bomb go off. And, of course, for the next few days, that's what we covered. We didn't cover the Olympics. We covered the bombing, which, whatever. That's what you do. But that was a great experience. I met people from all over the world, and different news people were there. I met tons of news people. And it's so long ago now. It's like, 96? So it was 25 years ago.
Did you carry the Olympic torch?
I carried that in Scottsburg, Indiana. I think it was in May, because it was the torch run, and they run all through the United States. And I think I just caught up with it in southern Indiana. That was cool. That was pretty cool. So I got to do that, and it was an honor. And then I guess Muhammad Ali was the one who eventually lit the flame down there during the opening ceremony. So yeah, it was very, very cool.
Other big sporting events?
I got to cover the Super Bowl in Indianapolis in 2012. I can't remember which number of Super Bowl it was. Maybe was it 45? I don't remember. Anyway, so it was the Giants and Patriots, I think, that game. I didn't get to go to the game. So it's, some of the glamour has rubbed off, because, I'm there to cover it. So we were in like a trailer outside the stadium.
I know.
But, I'm not, that doesn't diminish the honor it was to cover the big event. And I was up there for about a week or so doing all the pregame stuff. And that was fun. That was great. Yeah.
And of course, like we were talking about, when you were doing the sports, I mean, high school football and high school basketball in the tri-state, I mean, it's madness. And there's so many teams in 3 different states.
Yeah, that was fun. I mean, I had to do it after working a sunrise shift. And I don't want to complain like I'm sounding like I'm complaining all the time, but I mean, I would, get my assignment. Dan, you're going to go to Red Hill, you're going to go to Olney, and you're going to swing by Princeton on your way home. And we've got from 7 to 10, and I'm like, okay, let me see how I can do that. So I remember that one night I went to, first of all, I think I got a speeding ticket in Illinois somewhere. Don't even get me started. And then I ended up in Olney right as halftime started, and the marching band was on the field. So I got shots. I didn't have time to stick around. I didn't have time. So I got the marching band and left and went. I don't know if I made Princeton or not, but I got back. And I'm like, I got.
And then you have to edit.
Then I had to edit, and it's not like back it is now where you drag and drop. This is like pre-roll and B-roll and cover and miking and voice tracking, and it's like it's. Yeah, it was what it was, but I ended up. We got it done. We did it. And had fun, and it was crazy, and
and literally, you would be people were running to the studio,
Oh, yeah.
to the tape room
Yes.
with the tape.
Oh,
I mean,
I've-
literally running down the hall.
Yes, I wore a path from the editing rooms to the tape room
It was
many
chaos,
times.
but it happened.
It did,
It
and
got
we,
on the air, which
we
was
had,
amazing.
We had a great crew. We had Dean Webster and Ryan Lemon. We kind of had a good little niche of fun little. We focus more on like the fun of the night than the games. It's changed now. Now it's just about the games. We don't do the fun anymore. They, whatever. So but it was fun. We had a great time.
Ryan Lemon now
Yeah,
on Kentucky Sports
Yeah,
Radio.
he's big time. Yeah.
I hear him in the morning.
Yeah.
Does a great job there. He's really
Yeah.
really sports
Yes,
fan
no
too.
kidding.
Big
Yeah.
time, big time. And did you ride the Chopper? Chopper 14?
I rode it maybe once. I just basically prefer a car.
Well, we had Chopper Bob.
Chopper
was the
Bob, who
pilot.
liked to buzz low objects, and I'm like,
Yes,
okay,
and
whatever.
land under power lines
Yeah,
and
no,
go on the
yeah,
fields.
just
That was
not a
was
fan.
wild. That was wild.
Yeah.
Now, I think we talked about this earlier. If you miss at all any part of the news routine, I know you miss the people.
Well, I miss the people. I tell you, and you were a really good writer, and I prided myself on the way I wrote, and I think I think some newsrooms they've lost their way when it comes to writing.
Sure.
And I know we're assembly lining it now. We have more content, we have more time to fill, so it's hard. But I think when we teach journalism now, we've kind of lost the way of the written word and a good lead. And I know I'm sounding like a real little fuddy-duddy, but my coworkers would tell me, I would scream out when I come in, why did they write it this way? And I can't believe, because I'm not the world's best writer, but I think I kind of have a sense of how things, what you should say first about a story and what don't need to say, and how so that to me is my big, if there's anything I would love to improve or redo, I mean that would be it. I don't miss the daily, churning of the stories and the horrible crimes and
Sure.
things we do. But if there's one thing I would love to have done more, is help with the writing. That's all.
And of course, being in the business as long as you have, you've seen the technology change over the years. I know when I first started in television, we were still shooting film, which was looking back on those days, we have to edit the film, and the film would break on the air. Just maddening. Then we went to, of course, the videotape and those big cameras.
Yeah.
You've lugged some equipment around, haven't you, Dan?
Yeah, it was a TK-76. It was,
Oh,
it
yes.
was very heavy. It must have weighed must have weighed 30 pounds. At least.
Sure.
And then not only that, you have a tape deck which also weighs about 30 pounds. I mean,
And you have battery belts.
battery belts for lights. So I don't know if it was good. It was a good workout or a way to injure yourself.
Sure.
But it was a kind of a combination. So it was what it was. That was we're just starting out, and that's what the equipment they had, and things have improved thankfully with the equipment and the editing and everything. And again, we had a 6 and 10. So
Sure.
now we have a 4, 5, 6, 9, 10. I mean, noon, 11. It's like you couldn't do what you're doing today back in the day with the equipment and the editing and all the
And you have to feed social media, too,
right
constantly.
social media. Yeah. So we've just evolved because we can, and we have the technology that's more simplified. If that makes sense.
Now, any embarrassing moments that you'd like to share on that happened on the air?
Okay. I mean, I haven't put anything really tippling into a bucket, but there was one time when I was doing a live shot on the riverfront, and we used to have these radios where we'd have program our TV station in the radio, and you could put it up to your ear.
Yes.
But you could also have the other stations in the market in your ear too. So one time I was on the riverfront getting ready, I don't know what it was, some event, 4th of July or something. I had one of the competing stations in my ear, and I was waiting for them to throw it to me. And I'm like, wait a minute. And apparently they'd thrown it to me, and I was like looking around going, why? And so that turned out to be an embarrassing moment. I didn't even realize was embarrassing at the time. Mm-hmm. So stuff like that, I've said dumb things on the air, which I've been embarrassed about.
Did you guys ever have any critters on Sunrise?
We had, we used to have Ron Young with the Mesker Park Zoo on. This is many years ago. And he had one of his animals on. It was some kind of ostrich-y thing with a beak, and it would look around.
Or something
like that. And so he was sitting off on the side, and we were, Hamilton Northcutt and I were doing a 2-shot thing, teasing another story about some deadly fire or something, and the emu would look around, and so we kind of lost it right in the middle of this.
Oh, I know.
And I'm like, sorry, don't mean to be insensitive, kind of a thing. And what do you do? And that was one of those I think it made it on Bloopers and Practical Jokes. Remember that show with the Dick Clark show? I think it made it. I don't know where that video is now, but yeah.
We had I remember Kevin D.
Yeah, oh yeah.
He was one of our colleagues.
Yeah.
We had he brought something with the fair or something was starting, the 4-H fair or something. They brought this huge cow
I do remember
out
that.
on the set. And of course, this cow on the concrete with its hooves, it didn't have any traction. And you could see the eyes of that cow getting bigger and bigger.
My God.
I go, it's going to bolt. And this thing, weighed a ton.
What a great idea.
And I thought, it's going to tear all the equipment up, maybe attack us. But
that's Kevin.
And then, of course, it relieved itself, too. And it's cow dung.
I never heard that part of
the
story.
cow dung was all over the place. Anyway.
God.
And I know when I was first starting out, we had Marlon Perkins from Wild Kingdom was visiting the zoo. And he was checking out the zoo or getting accreditation or something. I don't know. I had him here. So he had a monkey with him. And I was getting ready to go on the air. And I go in the restroom, and here's Marlon Perkins with a monkey on his shoulder urinating. And it was
a
surreal moment, Dan. It was a surreal moment. I can
imagine.
And I always have that image in my mind of Marlon Perkins with the monkey on his shoulder standing in front of the urinal.
I don't have any monkey urinating stories, David. I'm glad I don't. And I'm sure you've got that ingrained in your mind.
That's a good one. That was a good one. And okay. We move on. Your puns are legendary. Do you plan these puns? Did you plan them, or did they just happen?
I think they just happen. Because if you said, Dan, do a pun,
you could.
It's just I don't know. I don't even know how to explain it, David. Mm-hmm. It's like it's a subject or a word or a topic, and it just melds into a pun. Yes. I don't know. It's just my dad was the pun master.
Really?
He was the best. He put mine to shame. But I think that's probably in my DNA, and that's why I did them. And it was another way to keep things light and just not be so serious all the time.
And you enjoyed your puns. I can tell you would laugh at your own puns, which I thought was great.
Because I probably was the only one.
Well, they would groan and you would laugh.
Yeah, and I'm sure they were groan-worthy, most of them. That's for sure.
So anyway. You're retired now. You'd like to travel. Mm-hmm. You got this hockey gig, and you're open to other things that come along, which I thought was kind of interesting when I retired, too. Things just happen.
Yeah.
They just come about. I didn't go out and seek anything. People would come to me and have different ideas of what you might want to do. And you could say yes or no, which is great.
Yes.
You didn't have to go with the first thing that was offered to you.
And maybe it just says, hey, your reputation is still decent, and we could use you. Because other people, I guess, could say, well, I wouldn't want them because they're But no, I mean, it's flattering. And, there's a lot of opportunities. But again, you don't want to pile too many things on your plate because, the point of retiring is to kind of just kick back.
Sure.
But like this whole Thunderbolts gig worked out perfectly, and then other things come along, then we'll see. But I'm sure you're sitting in front of a microphone.
That's
That was
right,
an
that's
opportunity
right,
that came
yes.
along after your news
Well,
career.
and this gives me an opportunity to talk to people that I want to talk to.
Right, you get to pick.
That's right.
You get to pick.
I don't have to talk to politicians.
Yeah, well,
Unless I want to.
I am flattered that you pick me, David. I really
Well,
am.
you're a two-timer. Yeah,
That's
this is
right.
twice.
Wow.
And I've had Jeff Lyons on twice now too. So you're in you're unique
some exclusive
group
category
there. Yeah,
company.
So frequently asked questions in your retirement.
I can tell you that
your brief retirement.
you have probably gotten the same
Sure.
question. So how is your retirement going? So how do you like retirement? I get that literally every day, and especially at the hockey games a lot. And I say it's great. I just open my arms. I go, well, you're looking at it. I mean, look at me.
Still
look
kicking.
at me. Look at me. And another one which really just is very flattering and humbling is we miss you on the air. That it doesn't really get any better than that. I mean, they say they miss.
It doesn't get old.
It doesn't. And they say I miss drinking my coffee with you. I miss getting up in the morning watching you guys. I miss you and Byron cutting up and you on the air and your puns even. I don't know if they mean that one, and so those kind of things are very nice. So, and then, again, it's only been a couple months, so it's all new to me. But so far, the community reaction's been just very kind, humbling, and amazing.
In your career, you shared the fact that you had cancer early on.
That's right. I had testicular cancer back in 1987, May of '87, and obviously it's the standard line I use. It's why I'm half nuts. And it, it's. I guess that's. I don't know how much I should say, but I guess they say that's why God gives you two. So but everything's fine, and I caught it early, and I would obviously want men to do self-exams, and if you feel something that's not right, to check with your urologist and make sure.
I know you were very public after this, and encouraging men to get checked.
That is a way that in my public role,
Sure.
I think anybody would want to do that. I think it's important. I even had people contact me about it, and I have questions, and I would obviously just tell them to, if you have a concern, go see a doctor. It's nothing. I mean, it's a private thing, but it's nothing to be ashamed of.
And you recovered quite well.
Yeah.
Now, the heart attack, did that give you the reason to retire?
Not necessarily. I think, it was time. I was 67. I mean,
Were you planning on retiring anyway?
I was pretty much planning on it because I was thinking about doing it the year before, but we had the pandemic, and I'm like, what am I going to do? I can't even leave the house. We had an election. So I stuck it out another year, and then I just, I think the heart attack maybe helped to seal the deal, maybe. My kids said, Dad, you need to retire.
And you don't regret that at all?
No, I have no regrets about retiring. I really don't. I feel free in a way, and I'm not having to get up, David. It just, it's just getting up and going in and have those deadlines and being on the air at 4:30 and putting makeup on and trying to look alive and awake. I don't miss not having to do that. But I appreciate everybody else that does it. I really do. It's not an easy gig. It really isn't. So.
Well, Dan Katz, this has been a great conversation. You look great.
Thanks.
I'm glad you're healthy. And,
you look good too, David.
Well, thanks. We're hanging in there. Well, we're out of the daily grind. That's why we look good.
Oh my gosh, yes.
And I feel healthy too.
Do.
I really do. So good luck, Dan, with the Thunderbolts and your future plans. And say hi to Beth and the boys for us. Good health and happiness in your retirement. Dan Katz, thanks for being my guest.
David, thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it. It's good to see you, and thanks everybody for all the kindness you've shown me all these years.
I'm David James, and this is 2 Main Street, presented by Jeffrey Berger of Berger Wealth Services at Bayard Private Wealth Management. Thanks, Dan.